Hi, I'm Carolyn.
And I'm Anna.
And we're two sisters who love handcrafting and figuring things out.
Welcome, everyone. It is episode 23 of the Curious Crafters, and today is Saturday, April 1st, and we are coming to you from sunny Northern California. It's beautiful.
Spring is in the air. We have the patio door open. You might be hearing wind chimes are just kind of going a little bit. It feels really good.
And we're so happy to be sitting side by side, because our last video that we filmed together was February 11th.
I know. We filmed two. We filmed our episode 21 and then then our whip parade later in the afternoon where we did two. And then we were scattered to the wind until I got back about a week ago.
It's been fun.
It's been fun. I know. We have so much to catch up on ourselves. We're going out to dinner tonight to really.
We have a lot to talk about beyond cross stitch.
Yeah.
And we're also realizing here it's April, and we started our FlossTube in the middle of April last year. So we're getting close to our 1 year FlossTube anniversary.
Yeah, I know. Anna was like, I think it's the next one. And I'm like, I think it's going to be the next one too. We'll be really close. Yeah. We'll have to go back and watch our first one and just see.
Somebody in our family said, how long have you been doing that? About 2 years? I'm like, nope, not that long.
Yeah.
It does seem like a long time ago.
It does. So glad we did it. Yeah. All right, so this episode, we have so much to talk about. We're going to, of course, tell you what we're wearing. We thought we'd give you just sort of an update on our WIPGO participation now that it's April 1st. We'll talk about February and March and our plans for April. We have some whips to share. We both, I think, bought about 4 or 5 patterns from Market. And we don't know what each other bought, so we're going to.
We know one of mine because you recommended it to me, and I said, already pre-ordered.
I can't remember which one it is.
Oh,
it's
that's funny.
Boop, boop. So we'll do that, and then we'll end with our thumbs up. As a reminder, we have some show notes in the description box below. And also, I always put chapters in our YouTube videos so that you can easily scroll to our different segments along the way. So first, and also, I'm glad you're here. It's always good to see you.
Definitely related to that. We are, reading the comments is such a pleasure, and there are always a few things that bubble up as sort of a theme or a question, and a couple of things that bubbled up were, you and I both visited cross-stitch stores on the East Coast during our travels, and we had a few people said, oh, I wish I had known you would have been there. And I thought, how do people... Well, and the trip that I made to Stitches Unlimited was really like a last minute decision. Yeah. But how fun would it be to meet at a store for people who live close by? And then I'm like, how would you announce that?
You know what I think you could do is you could put it on Instagram, like even a story or something, and say, I'm going to this on this, I'll be there at this time and date. I know, I totally agree. Although I have to admit, so sometimes like when I'm in a new store, I'm almost antisocial because I'm like looking and everything. But I guess you could always like meet in a store and have that your first antisocial time first, and then have people come or meet for coffee or vice versa. I think that would be really a fun thing to do. So if you have any ideas, like how do people post when they're traveling or going to stores? And it's just also so fun to see the personality of the store. I found this with knitting too. Like you kind of get to know the area too by talking to the people that run the store, that work there. So really fun.
They have their own flavor and culture, and it is related to the location.
And that being said, if anybody comes to the Bay Area and wants to go to Needle in a Haystack, which is in Alameda, or anything, contact us. That would be fun.
The other thing is, there was a few people, you made a mention of making a box for each of your grandchildren. Are you ready to tell us a little bit more about that? Or you want to just...
It's just still a beginning idea, but I imagine having a nice wooden box. So I don't maybe have someone make one or look for somebody that's really so that it's a, you know, a handmade carpentered wood box. And I'm sort of thinking like this size, so not huge, and opening it up and putting a stitch piece maybe on the top or inside. But then just like, I feel like almost for the kids growing up now, there's almost like too much memory, like photos and videos. So I thought I would like to put some curated things in there. So maybe it's just one picture a year for them and print it out and write a note on the back about it. Maybe make them a few handmade items along the way and put them in there. I thought pop $100 bill in every once in a while, or notes, you know, just sort of like a curated collection from their grandmother to them. And that either when they get to, like, I don't know, graduate from college, maybe give them their box, or
how about
when I'm gone, they can have the box as a memory.
Or when they come visit, they can pull. They can
maybe
box.
pull out the box and look at what's in the box.
I'm that idea
and see,
because I think a lot of us are going to copy you, Carolyn.
So,
that idea is just, it's beautiful.
So I would love if anybody has leads. I'm willing to pay for a nice quality box, because I would like it to be something that's a real memory.
Like you want some dovetails.
I want some dovetails, or just I'm willing to spend money on getting a nice quality box for that. So if anybody has leads on that, I would love to hear. I haven't started to research that. So kind of like a curated memory time capsule box for them.
Okay.
So, and if anybody's done something similar for their grandkids, we're just getting started as grandmothers, you know, would love to hear your ideas in the comments.
I mean, it's sort of in the same spirit of like a little Christmas ornament each year or something like that.
You know what? I was thinking about like making them a Christmas ornament every year. And then I thought, you know, great, but it might just go into their family box, which is wonderful too. So sort of I might, same thing, make a few Christmas ornaments and that goes in their memory box. Or maybe they get to have it for Christmas and they've got to mail it back to me. Or just something that, or when they come, maybe I put it on my tree and if they're at my house for Christmas, they can see their ornament and then it goes back in their box.
Well, let's keep talking about that. And I'm very interested in joining you in that.
Okay. Actually, that would be fun. So maybe our first step is really looking for a box. And I've noticed Melody today, she just posted a picture of, she just finished a cross stitch piece on the top of a box. And at first I thought, you know, is it safer inside? But it's so beautiful on the top of the box.
Or you could do both even.
Yeah,
the public and the private.
And the private, yeah. And I, you know, thought periodically, like just write them a little note, or maybe put, for both of them, their dads are my sons. So put some, you know, a couple pictures of their dads when they were little. I don't know, just sort of a collection of things. So,
great.
Ideas. Was I going to say something else about comments? Oh, one thing I want to say, Anna is our comment answerer, but I also read all the comments. So I know sometimes, so we both see them, and occasionally I'll go in and add a secondary comment too. So we love those,
Right. All right, so talking about boxes, it relates to our toast.
Okay, can I just say one thing before we do your toast? Friends, it's jelly bean season right now. Okay, they're really fresh, they're really good, and I have already enjoyed my annual bag of jelly beans. I get it, I know. I buy myself a bag every year. I do not share, and I eat them, and when they're gone, it's done. I thought we're about to go on a camping trip, and I bought this bag at maybe like 6 days ago, and I thought, oh, I'll save this for my camping trip and eat them while I'm camping. They're gone already. So.
Right. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed them.
Yes, they're fabulous. Okay, now for a much more important announcement. We got to go Broth's Classics.
I think you put this in a thumbs up. It might have been in our first
I think it was. That's what made me realize we've come back around.
Right, and there was a flurry of excitement about jelly beans.
I know.
And the different kinds of jelly beans.
I know. And that's why I have to limit myself to one bag, because I guess I don't, but it makes it
You're choosing to.
I choose to because it actually makes it special. And I just enjoy them, and then they're gone. Okay.
All right. So the reason I said our toast is related to boxes for our grandchildren is that we have another grandchild on the way, and it will be the 7th girl in that generation.
No boys.
She is due in May, so very soon, and my son and my daughter-in-law are expecting. So we have a toddler in our family already with my daughter and my son-in-law, and so
all right.
the other family is having a little one. And
to Birdie and to
Birdie's my grandmother name.
To J&S and their new daughter coming along.
It's So exciting.
It's so exciting. It's so exciting.
We're so happy for you.
Yeah.
Just in case you watch, which I don't think you do. They know that already.
And I can't believe they're all girls. I mean, it's boys are so fun. I'm not going to say that because I raised 2 sons. I love having boys.
Sure.
But there's something about like another girl, another girl, another girl. And when this baby girl is born, the oldest 2 may not even be 3 because the first one was born in May. And I think your due date is a little before her birthday. So it could be 7 girls under 3.
And when the first boy does come along,
I know
if that happens, it will be hilarious. I just have a little image of a little one like, running behind this gaggle of girls.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Okay, before we go any further, I am so into this. This is sliced grapefruit in hot water.
I've never heard of it, and it smells delicious.
I know. My daughter-in-law and I made it up. Well, I'm not that creative, but we made it up when I was visiting them in New York, and it was just like cold. So I wanted a hot beverage all the time, but I didn't want to drink tea. So first we were cutting up lemons and putting it in water, and then the grapefruit.
It's really pretty too.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Americano in this cup.
I did my glass mug just so everybody could see.
Your floating slices.
My floating slices. All right, let's get down to business. Anna,
Alrighty.
what are you wearing?
I am wearing a little tank top called the Saltbox tank. It's a really pretty cut, I think. And
Is this a seam or was? Oh yeah,
yeah,
This would make a
so
great
it's
project bag.
pieced.
Wouldn't that be a great fabric combination for a project bag?
Oh sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And you mean like the triangular look like that?
Well, no, I
I
love those
the
two
two
fabrics together. That looks great.
So I made this when I was just getting into garment sewing a couple of years ago, it was sort of like my third season, I guess, of garment sewing. And the pattern is by Blueprints for Sewing, and I have great respect for that company. Highly recommend the patterns. And it's just, I had this fabric in the garage. It's just quilting weight. I think it was Christmas vacation. I was like, I just want to make this tee. I don't want to go buy anything. I'm just going to try it. And the fabric is quilting weight fabric by Lotta Johnsdottir, which is, I have loved her things. She's still making beautiful fabrics. But she used to have her studio in San Francisco, no longer.
I didn't know that.
Because I think it was my 40th birthday. I didn't have to work that day, and I drove up and visited her in her studio.
I thought she was European.
She is.
But she was, I
think she lives in New York City now.
Okay, wow.
So this is a bag from so long ago. I think I've always been attracted to linen.
Yeah.
I'm taking us on a little tangent
That's
here.
great. I love it.
One of my friends gave me a little scrap bag from her. These are so old, you all. But just graphic.
Yeah.
And a lot of her patterns are kind of organic looking.
And geometric. And it's a combination of organic and geometric.
And beautiful color. Oh, how about that one?
Actually, this would be a really
Isn't that pretty,
kind of collaging those fabrics together.
In a project bag?
A little project bag or
That's
a little...
my solution to everything now. I could make a project bag out of that.
Or a mini quilt or something?
Yes, I've brought this sometimes to sewing circle things when people are putting little patches or collaging, doing a little hand piecing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're precious to me.
Yeah.
These have got to be
nice.
25 years old.
Cool.
So anyway.
I like that.
Saltbox tea or tank. You can make it a tea. I made it a tank.
And this is your uniform cardi. Also,
yes,
I know you've talked about
true.
that in a previous episode. So you're double dipping today.
This tank might be my very last thing that I have made so far.
You made it for a year, and you know what? I think we can repeat. I don't think people.
Oh yeah, I think we have to repeat.
We're gonna definitely start repeating, and we're not even gonna remember if we've worn it before. So you're not gonna remember.
Although we do remember this, because what are you wearing?
I know.
Here
okay.
it is.
I'm wearing my Lunenburg pullover, and I've been knitting it this winter, and I was so motivated to finish it before my trip to upstate New York or Hudson Valley of New York, and I love it. I wore it so much there. Again, if you haven't worn like a real wool, it's so light in weight, but really keeps you warm. And the yoke has been great. I finished my cuff, just a fold over cuff, and I have a little accent color in there. That works great.
That detail is.
Yeah. So just really, really happy with this. And the designer is Savory Knitting. And I got my yarn from the Woolly Thistle, and it's Lichen and Lace Rustic Sport. And if anybody wants to make this at all, I have plenty of yarn for the yoke colors.
Oh, and then they just have to get
you would just have to get
the
the yarn for the body. So if you're a knitter and you want to do that, just send me a message. I would love to pass on my yoke colors to somebody else.
The colors, it's just a beautiful combination. And Carolyn, I think I've said this before, but it looks beautiful with your hair and your
thank you.
complexion. There's it just all kind of like
I thought
together.
To me, these are really Joan colors. You all know Joan at this point, our sister. And I'm like, I'm probably going to give it to her. But I don't want to give it to her, but I should give it to her. I was going back and forth with that sort of moral dilemma. And then you know what, when I stayed with Joan for one night and I brought in just a little overnight bag, I left my suitcase in the car and I left this in the car because I'm like, if I see Joan and that sweater together, I'm going to give it to her. So I don't know if that's really mean-spirited of me because it would look so good on her and it's so much her colors.
She'd be the first to understand.
So Joan, sorry, I did think of you, but I locked it in the car so I wouldn't.
You're number 2 in the order of who this sweater's going to.
Hey, you know what, Joan? I'm going to wear it for a couple of years. And then I'll pass it to you and you can take a turn. How about that? We'll share it.
Well, she has to try it on too. It might fit you better.
I know, but it was funny.
But it might fit her better.
I know. Okay.
Okay, anyway.
So we'll go ahead and insert our catwalk here. You enjoyed that. I don't know what it's going to look like at this point.
I kind of forget how to do it.
So we thought for our next segment, we're going to focus in on our WIPGO and just what we've done. I think we've updated on January, but we've now had February and March, and we already know our calls for April. So we're going to just kind of go through those. And just first overall, Anna, how are you feeling about WIPGO?
Last time we talked about it, I feel the same way. I was skeptical, folks. I really was not sure this was for me at all. I get so excited now when the 25th is getting close. What's next? What's next? I think it must be the right amount of structure, and also I still have time to do other things. I think if it was consuming my month, it wouldn't be working as well for me. But and who knows, it still could peter out later in the year. But I'm really, really enjoying it, and I think it's giving me a nudge to get over some of my stuck points, which I'm really appreciating.
Yeah.
So how about you?
I feel exactly the same way. I'm really glad that on my board I have a combination of like whips, but I also put knitting things and finishing things, and I have a whole variety of different things. And the things I've done, it's like stuff I want to do, but I don't know if you're the same way. Sometimes I can be like, I really want to do this, but it sort of sits and I don't have that sort of kick in the butt to get started on it. Because once I get started, I'm usually like all in. And I've done a few things that I'm so glad I did them. And I'm not sure I would have done them as promptly without WIPGO. So also Anna and I are putting some cash in this jar for every WIPGO we complete. And then we're at the end of the year, we're going to take it and fund our little overnight New Year's retreat. So
I'm excited already.
We already have like a good start in there. So that's been really fun. A little bit at a time really adds up. All right, so let's go back to February. And the calls for February were 7 and 11. Anybody else think Slurpee? All right, so
definitely. I think the combination, well, maybe no. Does it happen to everyone? Every time the combinations of numbers are called, I make sense of them in my brain somehow. Yeah. This one was easy one.
Okay, so Anna, tell us what you did for 7 and 11.
Okay, so my son-in-law likes the 4th of July and likes Christmas, so I thought, for the next couple of Christmases, I'm going to make him a patriotic Christmas ornament. And this is the one I made for him this year, and I can't even believe it's already done. This is an example of I'm tucking this away, and during busy December, it will just be ready to send to him. It's called The Freedom Drummer Boy by Bent Creek. This is an old pattern. I can't remember what the copyright is. Anyway, this is what it turned out to be. It's on a little scrap that we had of needle and flax Dolly Madison, 32 count. And I experimented with putting the date in the back.
I think that's so key. And I love the hanger, how you just use the blue rickrack.
Yeah, this was all just stuff I had around. This fabric I bought at a quilt show, I think with you, years and years ago. Wow. I think it's like Japanese suiting or something like that.
Was it the Marine Quilt Show, you think?
Was he? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Looks
It's
so
just
good.
Just a couple of neutrals, and it just.
But again, like you said, it's done, and it's not going to be like November, and you're feeling like you got to just make it and enjoy it. You didn't have to feel rushed or anything.
Right, and I enjoyed making his other one too, but I do remember feeling like, oh, I got to finish it in the next couple of weeks to get it in the mail and that kind of thing. Then my 11 is actually the only WIPGO so far I have not finished, and it was part of our Stitch It or Ditch It.
Oh.
And my goal for this big quilt was to piece the back together. This is pretty big, and take it to someone to have it machine quilted. I decided I didn't really want to put a lot of time into it, but I decided I want to finish it. But now I think I still want to finish it, but it is for some reason I'm not getting the tub of extra fabric out and
Getting it done.
piecing the
Interesting.
back. So
now I do think with WIPGO, if you finish it later in the year, you can come back and mark it as completed.
yeah. So I'm still, it's funny, I'm not ready to say ditch it. I still have an idea for this quilt. Anyway.
But but it's interesting that you didn't pull it out still.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So 7 and 11 for you.
Okay, 7-11. So my 7 was to finish Seasons of the Heart Winter, and I showed that in the last video, but I'll put the picture of it right here. And this was done using the Katie Strachan silk conversion. And when Anna finishes hers, we're gonna fully finish it together as a pillow with a beaded edging that came with the kit. I was excited for that. And then my number 11 was framing. And initially I had on that I was gonna get 2 pieces professionally framed, but I think we've talked about this before when we went and did a little research at our local frame shop. It just wasn't in our budget, wasn't in my budget. But it gave us the incentive. We're like, come on, we can do it ourselves. So I've gone ahead and framed. So I changed my WIPGO goal to be research it, figure it out, and frame 1 piece. And Anna and I both really are drawn to these floating frames. And the piece is just sitting in there. And if you want to learn anything more about this, I just published a really just quick little bonus episode. I think it's about 10 minutes of the process I took to actually frame using one of these floating frames. And I love it.
I love it too.
I learned so much in the process. I know some things I'm going to do differently next time. I love the effect. It's exactly what I was going for. It really fits. You can almost imagine it fits the style of the house that I have, sort of the more California lifestyle. We just don't have colonial. I mean, it's just not what houses are like out here, just from when they were built. What else do I want to say about this? I don't know. I just loved it.
Incredibly successful first attempt. The frame is, the wood itself is very beautiful, which was one of my stumbling blocks to bring down the price when we were at the framers. The solid wood one was really, really expensive.
Yeah.
And I realized I think that's what I wanted.
Right.
So
And
I'm going to order from the same place.
Yeah. And full disclosure, this was not a cheap frame.
Yeah.
Like we really paid. It's a really nice, high quality wood frame and beautifully, constructed. But it was 1/3 of the cost of getting a professional framing. And the funny thing was, I found I was very particular about my pinning and stretching and even my spacing along here. That I'm not, unless you really got somebody super qualified at the framer to do the stretching and pinning, like I'm a little worried about having somebody else do it now. Not that I'm still learning, but I'm feeling like I'm pretty particular about how I want to do this. Anyway,
congratulations!
Thank you.
I think it's huge that you have learned all of that, and you definitely have a starting place and where we both can do this now.
Right. And now I know my next 2 that I'm going to frame. The shipping cost on this was pretty high. So I think I want to get 3 of them ready and then order 3 frames and ship them together. And for this, I was really glad I did not order my frame until I had pinned and stretched this to make sure that my dimensions really fit the inside. So I'm going to continue to do that, kind of do my blocking and my pinning first and then order my frames. So.
I have an idea of the first one I want to try, the one for toddler E.
Okay, and it's gonna be interesting. I don't know how it will go when I try a bigger piece, but I'll learn. I'll figure it out. So I'm really glad we went through that process, because it was enough that we're like, okay, let's.
This is what we're gonna do.
We're gonna do it, yeah. And I think we both really were committed to trying these floating frames as our first framing. So we had to figure it out. So super happy. All right. So that was April. March, the calls were 2 and 22. Now, who doesn't mathematically love that? I know. Okay, so Anna, how did you do on your 2 and 22?
All right, so I finished both of them. The first one was, I had stitched, I'm sorry, I've lent the pattern out, so I don't have it to show you, but it's a Modern Folk Embroidery Birds of a Feather, and they're 4 little bird designs. And for several months, I had these sewn and everything. I just needed to turn, I even had them turned, I think. I just needed to fill them and stitch them. And our sister Susan gave me this beautiful, I'm calling it a dough bowl, it's like a wooden tray. And I finished all 4 of them and finished, I had these little, I was really, I don't know, I love this fabric so much, this little strawberry fabric. So I had made these other little pillows and this.
How did you put your rickrack on? Did you sew it or glue it?
You know what? I glued it this time, partly because these felt like whatever. I could just chuck these. I don't really care about these. They were just, I thought they might look cute in the bowl. And I have mixed feelings. I can see, I tried to be really careful with the glue, but I can see a little bit of shininess here and there. So I think for anything that I really cared about, I might, well, I'm definitely gonna try sewing. I haven't even tried sewing on, but so fully finished. It took me 2 hours max.
Oh, really?
I mean, why was I so stuck? I think one of the reasons I was stuck was some of this was getting very thick and I was having a hard time like sort of finger pressing where I was sewing together, and then I'm like, well, I'm gonna baste each side and then do a ladder stitch, and that just sort of made everything sort of straight and easy to work with. That worked really well for me. I would do it again in a second.
Nice, nice. So here's an example where WIPGO just got you to do it. And Anna, it's so spectacular.
I have it in my living room on the coffee table now. My girlfriends came over the other day and they were touching it and oohing and ahhing. It was just fun.
And you can, that's like not seasonal. I mean, you just leave it. I just leave that out all the time. Yeah. And
I'm really happy. Can you tell?
Okay, you exceeded expectations. If I'm gonna give you a low grade, that's just beautiful.
So that was my number 2, and then my 22 was to make a few project bags. And I had it in my head. I had a bin in my craft closet that was little parts of quilt piecing. This and that. I had like 20, 25 years of little pieces. So I'm putting them together. And so I think I showed that parts of it. Maybe I can't remember if they were finished or not. But anyway, this is an example of one. I sent the other one already to Kay in Beacon.
Oh, you did? That's nice, Anna.
Well,
see,
if someone in the family heart eyes something, I'm gonna text them and say, "You want it?"
I know if any family members are watching this, if you ever want something, just tell us. We are like, Anna. That I love.
I am finding I really like the things I'm finishing, but I'm not super attached to many of them.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, yeah.
So this was great fun. I would do it again in a second. So
good. Nice.
Done. All right.
Okay.
22 for you.
Interestingly enough, my 2 was project bags, and I had as a goal to make 4 and gift 1. So I made 4.
That's a lovely idea. Let's just stop. I just like that idea.
Thank you. I still, Stacy, making that bag for me, getting that. I just want to continue to give things to people. So I had a bunch of fabric that I had bought along the way, being like, that would make a good project bag. That would make a good project bag. So here are my 4. And I love this fabric because it reminded me of my Satsuma Street.
Yes.
For that. And I got this in the quilt and cross stitch store in Amana, Iowa. And I just have the turquoise.
That turquoise is working
with a little there. So that's bag number 1. The second one is I love this Teresa Kogut bird fabric that she released. I bought this fabric from Kitten Stitcher. So there's the bird fabric on the bottom. And then there was like a coordinated, slightly smaller print. You'll see that again in a minute that I have at the top here. Birds on the back.
Is that a smaller print?
Yeah, it's a smaller. It's a similar, it's like a coordinated, she did like a whole line.
Oh, it looks like the same print to my eyeballs.
Well,
yeah. Yeah.
And then this has a navy interior. And I like my red zipper. Okay, that's number 2.
I like picking the zipper color.
This one was another fabric I bought in Amana, Iowa, and I wanted something that was just a little more neutrally. And I love ginkgos.
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
It reminds me of white noise.
Yeah.
It's very gentle and
I know.
delicate.
And just like a coordinated colored polka dot inside. I know it's not really like me, but I'm like, it's I could put one of those like little muted, or maybe you need it for your
like
muted.
frog. Oh yeah, maybe I do.
That. And then the fourth
Big
one.
4 giveaway too.
Yeah, you're welcome if you want to take any of them. You can. You just can't take. This is one I'm not past. This one has too much like sentimental. I love Satsuma Street. This is the one I made to give away, and this is another Teresa Kogut fabric. It's just a slightly smaller print, but it has some birds on it and bees. I have the blue accent, and then inside it's her coordinated gold, has a little cross stitch, and same thing. This blue has a little bit of cross stitch in it.
Oh, this is so fun.
I know.
All right, so how are you feeling about putting zippers in?
I'm getting better.
And how are you feeling about turning corners?
Still really hard. But I feel like my corners are fine. I
agree.
It's like you can't get that really crisp corner. I think it's just too much fabric. But I'm happy with these. They're not professional, of course, but really. So if you want this bag, just know, like, I'm an advanced beginner sewer, and that's what you're going to get here. But they look fine. They look fine. Pretty. Okay, if you want one of these bags, what you're going to do is you're going to leave a comment. I don't care if you're a subscriber or not. If you're watching this and you're interested, have at it. Here's what you need to do. Comment on the video, and the key word is zipper. I was trying to think of a word because I thought, well, if it's project bag, somebody might just want to say something like, oh, I like your project bags, but they're not really interested in this. So so your word is zipper. And what I love, you don't have to, you can just say zipper if that's all you want to, but I'd love to hear, what project would you put inside? Just to kind of get a flavor of what.
That's a fun idea.
Stitching.
Nice, Carolyn.
Yeah, thank you. With everything, I guess with all these trolls, what's gonna happen is we're gonna randomly pick one in our next episode, and I will announce the winner in our next episode. All right, so you have 2 weeks until our next episode, and then we'll pick you. Okay, zipper. All right, that was number 2. Then my number 22 for me was, let me pull this. Oh, I'll put a picture here. Probably would have been, I'm not quite sure what episode it is. Maybe the end of last summer, beginning of the fall, where I was talking about a sampler that was in my husband's side of the family.
I think it was fall.
Fall, and we call it YaYa's sampler because it was his uncle by marriage, uncle's mother. It was her sampler. She was living in Egypt at the time. They're Greek, but they're living in Egypt. And if you want to go back, I'll put the episodes maybe here or someplace else, and you can find out more about it. But here's a picture of YaYa's sampler. All right, so my WIPGO call was to chart it and to start stitching it. So what I did is I have just a photo, and luckily it was stitched on a fabric that looked kind of like an Aida, or an even weave. So it wasn't over 2 threads, it was always over 1. So it was easy to kind of count. And what I did is I put the photo, I put the photo on my iPad so that I could use it and mark on it and count it and blow it up. And I really had no problem at all, because I could really blow it up and see of charting that. And I used a program called Mac Stitch. There's a version also WinStitch if you're a PC. I'm a Mac user, and it worked great.
That was one of my questions. You're very comfortable with technology. For someone who is medium comfortable or a beginner with technology, do you like, how hard would this be?
Yeah, okay. So one thing I'm just going to say, and I'm going to preface that before I was a teacher, I was a software engineer and I did user interface design. So I'm very sensitive to user interfaces, and this interface is not good. So, and in fact, I'm sorry, PC users out there, but Macs really know how to do interfaces. And so it feels very much like a Windows application. So I'm sure they built it for Windows PCs first and then kind of ported it to the Mac. So it feels very much like a Mac. And I think it's super powerful. I just what I kind of do when I'm learning a new piece of software is I just start really simple, like what is the most basic thing I need to know how to do? And then I just kind of start learning. And there seem like there are tutorials on YouTube, and they have like a little help, like some written up stuff. So I think there's going to be a little learning curve, but
did you try to repeat anything, or
so like you can do something and then you can select an area and copy and paste it and move things around. So that sort of stuff, if you're at all used to any kind of editing software, it goes pretty smoothly. So it seems to be the program that most people use, or that I've heard the most about. It's reasonably priced. I think it's just shy of $40, and I feel like it's well worth it if you want to do any kind of charting. And then it can export, it can export into a PDF. So for example, here's the PDF. There is my full charted pattern.
And about how many hours would you say that took?
Okay, so I worked on it for about 4 days, but I found I could only work on it for about an hour or 2 at a time because I would lose focus.
10-ish hours maybe?
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Okay.
And then it does it, breaks it up into a chart.
So when we get charts like this, the program is doing that. I see.
And then you even have the option, like if it was going to be a professional chart, you can put a cover page on there and you can do lots of different things. And you can even...
What about that shading? Did you put in that shading?
Yes. No. Part of printing it is saying, do you want an overlap? And I made mine 5 stitches. You can say how many stitches. You can say what color you want it.
Cool.
So lots and lots of options. I'm just beginning to explore this. But it was so fun charting this because like stitching, like you see all the nuances and the details of like how do the alphabet letters connect to each other. And it was really fun. Such
very fun.
Such a positive experience. So if you're at all interested in doing a little charting, and then I'll show you later, I've used that charting program now, like if you need to put a little space or personalize something, you could just whip it up in this and print out a chart for that.
Great.
And then, okay, Anna, talk for a second. I want to get my little flannel board.
Sure.
Or we can pull it out.
I'm just going to hold it up again.
Coming back in. I like putting it on this board. I feel like you get a good back.
Carolyn has already started to stitch it as well.
And that and that was the WIPGO, was to chart it and then start stitching it.
That was a big WIPGO goal.
I know. It's funny because I was traveling when the WIPGO goals came up, and so I really couldn't start my WIPGO until like really this week leading up to this. So my project bags. So here's my start so far, and what I'm using is this is 36 count brown paper by XJU Design, and the thread is Gloriana Silk Schoolhouse Red, and it's stitched 1/2. And it's so funny, I had bought both this linen and this silk to stitch Yulbakken.
I was gonna say.
And I was sitting there going, okay, what do I want to use for this? And when I looked back at the photo, the color of the linen was a little brownish, and I'm like, I'm just using what I already have in my stash. I love this so much, I'm gonna order more of the brown paper and the same silk to do the Yulbakken as well.
Great.
All right, friends, I see the appeal now of a red sampler. This is my first red sampler.
I haven't tried one yet.
It's beautiful. This red, it's beautiful. And I feel now, like I remember last summer, learning the pin stitch to start things was so, and now, like it still takes me a little time, but like doing each letter now, I'm like, I just have a pin stitch. Like I'm feeling so much more competent in starting and stopping. And
great.
And these are Smyrna crosses, this part along here. And that was really fun to do as well.
I was wondering how you noted that.
That was kind of, there was no Smyrna cross in the program that I could see unless it's called something else. So I just did like, I just drew lines for it.
Yeah.
But it works.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's beautiful. You're learning something new and you're preserving some family history.
I know. So if anybody in the family wants that, I'll pass that pattern on to them. And I'm going to stitch this. I know that's something my husband always admired. I'm going to make that for him and do that. And I'm keeping this in, I got one of Barry Stitch Folk's bags, and they really are as beautiful as everybody says in the inside fabric.
That is beautiful.
And I love what she did on the last time she sold these. I think I bought this before I left, so it would have been at the beginning of February, is if you hadn't bought a bag before, she opened up the orders, I don't know, like, let's just say it was 7 p.m. I don't remember what time it was. And then for those that had ordered it, you could come in at 7:30. So I feel like that's a nice way. And I think of this sometimes when we're like ordering Katie Strachan's silk conversion kits, because I feel like, I think I have like 4 now. And I always think like, do I need to pause and let other people have an opportunity? So I know like my last one, I waited and got the pre-order, for like the kind where I have to wait for it because she kits it up. And I often think about that for these beautiful bag makers that many people want. And I thought it was a nice way. Because,
right. We can just pause for a moment and let people have a turn. Right.
Yeah. So that's that.
Great.
Okay. So that just brings us now to April, and the numbers called for April are 7, No, they're not. 5 and 17. Two beautiful prime numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
So if my 5 and 17 were the same thing, which was the fun thing that happened for me for April. Frederica is on my board 3 times. So 2 of the 3 were pulled for April.
And I love that you can really focus on that this month.
I'm looking forward to it, and I'm just starting my spring break, so I'm really, the idea of having a more relaxing week to have even some more hours of stitching for the first week is so appealing. We're doing this in the MPI silks, and what is my fabric? I can't even remember. Oh, maybe I didn't put it on. I can look it up.
I think it was a needle and flax. Yeah.
I'll look it up while you're showing yours.
Okay.
And so I've done quite a bit. I think it's going to take me 3 times to finish. I want to finish this year. Can you hear the determination?
You're going to finish it, Anna.
Yeah. So I guess you go ahead. I'm going to look up the fabric because now I'm curious.
Okay. Because that's both of yours. All right. So my number 5 was fully to FFOs, and my goal is to fully finish 3 objects this month. And I think that's going to be totally doable for me. I feel like I'm really in a groove. And my plans is I want to finish my Seasons of the Hearts, spring and summer as pillows. And then I also had seasonal etchings, spring and summer. And I'd like to I might overachieve and do 4 and get those done. I'm still not quite sure how I want to finish those 2, so that will be part of the thought process. So I'm excited for that. And then my other one is, for any knitters out there, you probably know this designer. Her name is Susan B. Anderson, and it's Barrett wool, so she has her own wool. I think she lives in Wisconsin, and she does these beautiful designs, and she's always putting out these kits, and I can't resist them. I can't resist them. I'm going to put a picture of one of her kits. I made these little, they almost look like babies in a pea pod for my granddaughters, and I'll put some pictures up here of those. All right, and then I bought a kit for gnomes and a kit for elves. Okay, so it comes with all the yarn and everything, and then a code to get your pattern on Ravelry. If you're a knitter, you know what I'm talking about. So here are the gnomes pattern. And then, come on. Oh, yeah. Here's the elf pattern. So she does this beautiful photography, and I see them and I'm like, I can't resist those kits. So my WIPGO goal is to knit at least 2. And it could be 2 elves, an elf and a gnome, 2 gnomes. But do
they each make 3 like the picture show?
They typically, and to be honest, I have some of these other colors too from her other kits, because this is her own wool that she does them with. Okay, so so I can definitely make. So I want to get started because I actually have a couple people in the family that I know they would love gnomes or gnomes or elves. And I'll have them done and ready for the holiday season. Okay. So that's kind of a silly one. But again, I'm so glad with WIPGO. They've been sitting here. I've had these kits for 3 years wanting to do them. And I've never done them. And then it gets called on WIPGO. So there it has. So that's going to be my April. Fully finishing and knitting some gnomes.
Great. Okay. Friends, when I have something that's cross stitching on my WIPGO goals, I'm saying I'm going to stitch 5 to 10 nights. So for Frederica, I'm going to do 10 to 20 nights. And
did you forget, was the linen Thornfield?
You know, it might be. We probably can go into our document, but I didn't have it written down. I've gotten better at putting a little index card in my project bags, and I started Frederica a long time ago. Great. Okay. All right. So that's, well, okay. That was a lot, but I think the WIPGO was a lot of the stuff we've been working on. Yeah. Works in progress. Let's go. All right. Fruits of Plenty. Let's start with that one. Okay. So we have been taking turns giving an assignment, and the assignment Carolyn gave us last time was to fill in the design in this octagons. Wait, so sorry, this one. You just had it upside down. Oh, thanks. Yeah, that one. Okay. How'd you do, Anna? So mine is filled. Oh, Anna! I still need to do the concentric things around there. Yeah. How does yours look? Same. Great. So I've got mine done as well. So I put all my concentric octagons in there. And Anna, I really feel like we do need to fill one in. Okay. And I, at first, So you might see I started to fill and then I stopped because I'm like, ooh, I think that might be too wide. It might stand out too much. And I'm just not sure. So
I think that, but when I've been looking at my different ones, I think that's the right one to do.
really,
Because,
we could
or
do
the second one.
right. So I almost wonder,
Should I try starting the second one?
yeah, or
and
I'll
then
try
say-
on my other side if you're not up for that.
So we're making good, excuse me, we're making good progress, Anna. We're really getting down there.
Now I just want to like peek out at different
I
places.
know.
Yes, and so our next thing, I can't resist. We're filling in the other,
Okay, good.
the opposite side.
Okay, awesome. And the opposite side, this one felt very much like a snowflake, the one we just did.
Yes, it
And
did.
this one feels more like flowers. Okay.
It looks like a lot of stitching in that other one.
This one was a lot of stitching for me too. I find this particular linen, I indigo dyed it myself. And I don't know if since indigo dye covers threads versus absorbs into them, this is really hard for me to see. Like,
Can I hold it?
yeah, one day I was not under my good light and I had no patience. It was interesting because I had such a hard time seeing the threads. And I also find for this one, it takes me like at least one session to get my eyes back into seeing where the threads are. But then once I'm in there, then I get really hooked into it. But it's a harder startup. And I think that's why I was not working on it quite as much. So
Yeah,
these
assignments, yeah. I guess it's the same, similar to that WIPGO thing of just a little chunk, a little defined, focused thing is helping me move forward for sure.
Yeah, and I keep that in my beautiful Stacy bag. I think of Stacy, if you're watching, I think of you every time I use this. I love it.
Okay, so we have a bunch of other works in progress. Why don't you do a few? I'll do one. You do a few.
Okay, great. And the next one I'm working on is part of a SAL, and it is the Saltbox series by Plum Street. And there are three friends, Lauren of the New Hampshire Stitcher. Here, I think I wrote down all of them. Caitlin of Cross Stitch Kate, and Jessica of Sweetwater Stitcher. The three of them got together to start the Stitch Salon. And I just love when like friends start something and then like, hey, anybody wants to join us, join us. I feel like that's so inclusive. And I'm like, yes, please. And they are using the hashtag, I'll put it right here, Saltbox Solstice SAL. And the idea is they're going to start the season on the first day of the season.
It's a beautiful
And
rhythm to that. I really like that.
initially I thought, okay, I'm going to join them. I'll just, I'm not sure I'm going to do them all. So I'll start with autumn. But then as soon as I saw Lauren's video and she's like, oh, we're starting it on the first day of the season, I'm like, I'm doing all of them. So here's my start to this one.
Those colors.
It feels so springy. And I am going to add the full border.
Yay.
It just feels so much like a Polaroid to me. And then I'm gonna finish them just on mat board as a flat finish. And then I'm gonna use these photo stands with the grooves, and they make them with slightly wider. And so I'm gonna put the piece in there so it kind of looks like a photo on a photo stand.
That's going to be really...
With two of them, and then I can just, depending on the season, put which ones are in there. So I'm really excited with how I'm going to finish them. And this cannot be more fun. I love Plum Street. I love the colors. And what am I using for this? Let me look at my details. It called for, I believe, oaken, which to me felt a little too dark and not springy. So I substituted my linen to be 36 count vintage bisque by Lakeside Linen. Is something we just had in our stash. And I'm using all the called for, it's mainly overdyed cottons, but there's also one DMC for that. So these pinks and reds are really pretty. And then I love, it's called Deep Fennel. I love this turquoise.
Yeah, that color
that's on the house.
is working well.
Yeah. And I know Carol Saltbox Stitcher is also stitching these. I don't know if she knows about the Sal, but I noticed she also just finished this one. And it's fun
Didn't
seeing...
she say like she likes this one better, so she's making herself stitch this one first?
So it's really fun to see of the people participating in this, which they pick to do first. And this one, I have to say, this one is my favorite, and I started with that one. I mean, I still like this one, but this really drew my eye. So really enjoying that, and that's called Spring Salt Boxes, and the series looks like the Salt Shakers.
I think you're more drawn than I am to the season patterns.
I know.
But then when you start yours,
I know.
then I usually get swayed over to trying them
I
too.
know. I've done quite a few seasons, and to me they're fun, and I like that's like a nice, fun, small to do that. So I really enjoyed that. So thank you again to the 3 ladies for starting that and for being so inclusive and just saying join us if you want. So thanks. Okay. All right. Next one I'm doing is the pattern is I just have it on my iPad. There it is. And this is called Hometown. And the designer is Tina Egner, excuse me. And she designed under Team Egner. And the moment she posted this on Instagram, boom, I went over and bought it right away.
Wow.
I love it. And
why?
Okay.
Is it like when like when you see something and you go buy it, it must be striking it.
I think I love, well, she calls it a sampler snack. I love, okay, so that was like super cute. I love that it's small. I love that it has a variety. I like the geometric bands. It has some alphabet. It has some design. And then you personalize it with your hometown. And so I'm going to personalize it with mom's hometown and her date of birth. So I like that. And for this, I'm using 36 count milk and honey by Fiber on a Whim and the called for DMCs.
The threads look fabulous on that. Linen.
I got
that ground.
I got this at both the linen and the threads at Hobby House Needleworks. And I was looking for a linen that might be a good substitution for Lakeside Lentil. And David, everyone's told me since that his name's David. David recommended this one, and I just got a little bit. I just wanted to stitch with it, and when I get the threads for the project I want to stitch on that lentil, I can compare them on this. But I love this linen. I love the color. I love the feel of it. So that's been a fun project. And here are all the threads, DMC, and I love this gray because it's one of those grays that when you look at it in isolation, you're like, oh, that's gray. But then when you look at it closer, you're like, oh, no, that's like blue gray.
Yeah.
And
definitely see the blue in it.
Cindy C, who's Cindy C Stitches on Instagram, she just finished this. And she, for the middle flower there, orange, she converted that to use that blue gray.
Oh.
And I really like that. So I think I might do that modification as well. So Hometown by Team Egner. And that was a new start.
Okay. One of the things I've been working on, and I held this up last time, I haven't done that much, but I did add the house. This is Sarah Barnes from Scarlet House. This was in the Kitten Stitcher sampler box. And I am doing it on 36 count straw by Weeks Dye Works, and it has Belsois and Gloriana silks. And here it is. So this is on my WIPGO board. So hopefully when it gets pulled, I'll be able to finish it.
You're so close, Anna.
And this is the one I want to put in at the bottom of a glass box. So not too much to say except for small samplers, which maybe I'll start calling sampler snacks.
Isn't that great?
They just suit me. This is the one I start. This is my New Year's start. I started it when we were on our little retreat, and I like them. I think I like things that are kind of cute and sort of small. So
I also like working on some of the smaller size samplers because I feel like you get a taste of lots of working on a sampler, but like it's not too big to hold. It's easy to pick up and put down. It's a beautiful little snack. Okay. Next is, I've been working some more on Martha Evans, 1879. And this is the sampler that's celebrating Brenda's 60th birthday this year. And as we've talked about before, both Ann and I just are doing variations on it. We picked out motifs and things that we liked and are doing a smaller version. And we're using the Soirage silks, and they really continue to be so beautiful. I love stitching with them. So here's my progress.
You've really carried that border across.
Yeah, so I've put all of my border in. I am still debating. I think I'm going to continue the flower border over here, and we'll come that. And then I really love that geometric border. So my last piece is I want to fill this upper space with some of the smaller motifs that were in the sampler. And I used my charting program again. So what I did, you won't be able to really see the details, but I first just put in the lines of the existing pattern. So here is the flowers and that big flower pot there and my top border. And then I just took some of the little motifs from the pattern and put them where I think I'm going to want to put them. And I'll use that as my guide to start stitching and fill those in. So it's going to be jam-packed with lots of little small motifs, but I got the feeling like this sampler does have that feeling to me of just jammed packed with lots of goodies. So I wanted to add some of those small little pieces. So that's where I am. Again, I love stitching this. I love this linen, and this linen is 36 count Tephra by Cedar River Linens.
Can't wait to try some.
I love stitching on it, and it's so fun. I think I'm going to finish this when it's done as a flat fold, a standing flat fold. I think that will look
great. Good. You have a great spot in your house for flat folds.
I do. All right, Anna, next.
Okay, another little sampler I've been working on is the Strawberry House sampler. It's a bright needle pattern. It's a pattern from 2005. And Jo from Vesta's Button Box started hers. She found a kit online and she tagged me. And the minute I saw hers, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm taking that out and working a little bit on mine. So
it's fun when somebody else is working on something. I can see why like people are just like, hey, I'm going to start this. You want to start it too? Because it's just fun to watch each other's progress.
Right. This was my 60th birthday start. And I had done sort of this corner. So I've added quite a bit, but I'm probably going to stop now and go to Frederica. I had, there's some grass at the bottom. The picture is hard to see. There's some elongated crosses.
Ooh.
And I realized after I'd done quite a bit down here that I had stitched over 3 threads about here on this vertical border, which was because I did some of these motifs off of that border. It was going to mess up that grass. It would be so noticeable that I knew it would bother me. So I had to frog a bunch over here. And so maybe I'll finish replacing those things that I frogged and then tuck it away.
Yeah. And have you ripped out everything that you need to rip out?
Oh yes,
okay.
I ripped out and stitched a bunch.
I think that's the main thing is getting out your mistake and then moving forward. Anna, that looks so great. Oh my gosh, that house is beautiful.
It's
it's very delicate. Like I think this is going to be one of those pieces that you're going to want to look at up close. Because like look at all that detail that's in the house and the colors.
Right. And again, those muted colors, but then the pink pops a little bit, the strawberries pop a little bit. So again, a small sampler snack.
Is that a little bigger, do you think, than a sampler snack?
Not really.
Hey, are you stitching this on 40 count?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And Carolyn, we're gonna try a little 40 count.
Okay.
I barely can tell the difference between 40 and 36. And I don't even Really?
Okay.
I mean, I almost want a smaller needle sometimes. This is on 40 count vintage navy bean by Lakeside.
I wonder if, I'm just totally making stuff up here, but I wonder if when you move to like up to higher counts too, they're also using finer threads in their linen so that the whole size isn't that much different. It's just your threads have gotten a little finer. I might just go with that as a way of just like give it a go.
Yeah,
that's looking good, Anna.
Thanks.
Wow, we did a lot.
I know. You in particular. But cross stitch continues to just be my way to unwind at the end of the day. I stitch a couple hours every night. Yeah. Most nights, I should say.
I found when I was traveling, I actually, particularly when I was visiting my son's family, I didn't do that much cross stitch. It was not conducive in
when there's little ones around.
I did more knitting. I actually did a lot of knitting then. But since I've been home for about a week and I cannot put cross stitch down. I love it. Do I have to go back to work? Okay, here's my next one. And this one I took it on my travel because I'm stitching it on 28 count and I find that's great on the travel. And it's Joy by Satsuma Street. And this is my progress. And I actually had to stop because I need some advice from Anna and from you all. So I finished all of my ornaments.
It's a very happy looking piece.
I love it. And I've started to put in the metallics. So maybe you can see what those
And I'm
are.
really glad you're trying some metallics too.
And for the metallics, I'm using two things. These are, several of you recommended trying the petite treasure braids, and I'm finding they are no problem to stitch with at all. So thank you for those recommendations. And I started with this brighter, and that's the top two ornaments. And then at first I'm like, ooh, is that just too bright? So then I took the one that's a little bit more muted. Okay, and I've done some other ones in that muted. So here's my problem. I don't think it's very visible, and I think you really want to see the hardware because otherwise it just looks like floating blobs.
It's funny because when you hold it like this, it's super visible.
I know, but from
when
a
you hold
distance,
it back, I don't know, I think it still is. It's not showing up very well on camera, but.
and so now I'm wondering, do I use, like I thought this was going to be just too brassy, but actually from a distance, do I need them all to be this brighter?
I would vote one more in that brighter
Okay.
and the rest.
And then would it be better if I did something like pulled out the gold that's down here and just made them gold?
I would miss the metallic. I really like the metallic.
Okay, so I'll make maybe this last one down here, the bright, the brassy.
What about this one?
And maybe that one. I think I might do two. Maybe I'll do two more. Okay, so I'll keep going with metallics. So this is really close to a finish. I just have to finish those metallics. And I will finish this as a wall hanging before I finish that. Okay, so that's Joy.
That's going to be great to get up. Oh, and your blanket.
I have one more. Gosh, I know. I just have a big pile over here. I've been doing actually between traveling and I really enjoyed March Madness this year. So during watching basketball games, I've been doing a lot of knitting. And I'm knitting a blanket for my fourth granddaughter. She's the last in the list. Next time I make something, I think I might start with the youngest and go to the oldest, like as I'm stitching. And this is a blanket I'm knitting for her.
And then you have to start in the middle at some point too.
And I use the same stitch pattern as just the stitch for her sister's. Oh, let me hold it up. Here we go.
Yeah,
her sister's blanket. And now this one.
It's great. It has a great squish to it.
It has a great feel to it. The yarn I'm using is, I don't have my tag with me, La Bien Amie, and it's their Merino DK. And I'm using two colors. This is the dyer's signature color. It's called Yellow Brick Road. And then this one's called Grello. And you can almost see they're these little, I'm almost thinking they're like little florets, but I do a row of one color and then a row of the other. So I feel like it just nicely breaks up the design.
It's looking great.
So really happy with it. It feels great.
I can just imagine her dragging it around.
Yeah. And so far the other three girls use their blankets a lot. So I think this one hopefully will also
You never
get
know.
used a lot as well. All right, Anna, so we need to decide. We're here at an hour. Should we save our market patterns for the next video?
No,
Or
we're
should we
gonna
just go and go?
We're going to do it.
All right.
We just won't go on and on about it.
We'll keep our,
I think I've said beautiful about 25 times already, so we can say beautiful.
we can say beautiful. Okay,
Let's do like every other.
let's do every other.
Okay.
You start.
All right. First thing I chose, and I said pick 4 or 5. Like it was just sort of fun to narrow down.
Because they're not going anywhere, most of them.
Right. The Blue Flower Spring Quail. So I might just make the biscornu,
Why not?
or I might do the whole thing.
Okay, I like that one too.
That's my first one.
All right, my first one is Sarah Ann Seaton Welford by Lila's Studio. And it's a simple, oh,
I can't.
Lila.
I've heard other
Lila.
people debate it. I think it's Lila. Anyway.
And again,
Yes,
that's
yes,
very
yes.
simple. And this is one I'm thinking of as a possible contender for doing for one of the granddaughters.
Okay.
Commemorating hers. Okay.
I love that they're shared supplies because
I know.
All right, the second one I chose was Jeanette Douglas, Marguerite Meadows.
Anna, I love that. I don't think I've seen that one.
Sampler snack.
Oh, yes. Oh, I love that one.
Okay.
Okay. Next for me is One Warm Thought, Hands to Work, and it's an original design. And again, I think I was sort of thinking of this idea of like a small sampler to commemorate a granddaughter. And I think instead of the words up here, I would put, for each girl, I want to put their full names, their date of birth, and the town where they were born. So instead of that. So again, that sort of idea. We're kind of going small sampler here, Anna.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stacy Nash, Spring Chickens Pin Keep. This was the one that you messaged me about. You said something like, it will go with the one with the cape or something. And I had just placed the pre-order 2 hours before I got the message from Carolyn.
Good. My next one is Paisley Patch Quilts and Stitchery, Betsy's Autumn Basket.
That caught my
eye. I believe it's Doreen. I think Doreen is stitching right now either the summer or the spring basket. And I just love the colors and all the whimsy of those flowers.
I'm laughing because I just glanced over because I can't believe that we don't have any overlap yet. I just see our last two are both the same.
Oh, seriously?
So Stacy Nash, Sarah's sewing bag. I'm eager to make some bags and some.
Me too. Okay, good. Should we do it at the same time?
Sure, let's do that.
It's fun when we have two copies, then we can stitch them at the same time versus sharing them back to back. Okay.
And then, how do you say this one?
Birds of a Feather, this Blackbird Designs one.
This was not in my original pre-order. I don't think I saw it at first. And so this was my fifth.
I'm going to tell you the thing that's always bothered me, and it's just my eye, it might not bother you. This bird's cream wing
goes too much?
It goes too much for me. So I'm going to definitely change that because I want that to be as vibrant. Like I might go for that turquoise. So I want it to be as vibrant as the other.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot.
Okay. Anna, so
I guess
fun.
it depends on which linen, because if I did it on a darker linen.
And I think too, part of it is I wanted the pop. Like I feel like those birds, the birds and the flowers are like, boom, they should be in your face in some ways. And so I feel like I need a brighter color for that.
All right, so the last thing I'm going to show is not related to market.
Okay,
is
so 40% of our patterns were the same.
I thought it might be more actually, and then I thought, oh, that's
okay. That is hilarious.
Well, anyway, we should probably do this at market every year.
Oh yeah,
don't tell each other, and if there's overlap, because that was fun for me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
was it fun for you all too?
Thinking about the next grand girl coming, I saw this old carriage house samplings, and there was just something about it. It's like, you know how sometimes your heart just says, "Oh, that's the one." I'm thinking of doing that and putting her name in 2023 instead of the wrought by me 1824.
Nice, Anna.
So I made Toddler E a little. It was the hands to work Sir Dandy. And I don't know if
that was last year's market.
If they're going to hang at my house or whether the families will want them. Either way works great. This might be a little bit too colorful for. Anyway,
I like the idea. So I think I've heard from a couple other people that say I hang it at my house. Like I'm commemorating. Like some people say, like I make Christmas stockings for my whatever grandkids, and they just hang at my house. Like.
Right.
I think that's a nice option.
And the little ones come, they can come find their sampler.
Right. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I might romanticize these kinds of things, but I do like that idea.
Anna, we're going to have to think about our duplicates if we want to stitch them at the same time.
Yeah, we definitely
we'll have to have a conversation tonight when we're having our pizza and beer. Okay.
I'm looking forward to that. We have so much to catch up on.
Let's do our thumbs up.
Okay. Around the end of February, the fruit trees flower in our area. And so the first thing on my thumbs up is the petals on the sidewalk. And sometimes when you're driving, the petals are coming down like snow. Because we've had these like sun, wind.
I missed it this year. I was gone for a big chunk of all the plum trees. I was really sad actually. Yeah.
Second thing on my thumbs up is just middle school students, middle school aged children. They're so funny. So the second thing is just middle schoolers commentary. We had the things they notice and the things they say. We had a sort of a fancy event at our school, and I was wearing a floral dress with these white suede booties that had embroidered flowers on them too. And they said to me, "Anna, you look like Miss Frizzle." They were so right. So I brought an old Miss Frizzle book. You know how her dress always matches her shoes somehow? And it was just so right on and very, very funny. So I'm at the right age group.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
I think too,
enjoy them
if you're
so
around
much.
middle schoolers a lot, you cannot be offended by anything they say.
No. I mean, if something's mean, I will
Yeah.
point it
Oh,
out.
yeah.
But there's a lot of ungraceful, funny,
Yeah.
or just frank things that
Frank.
come out of their mouth,
Yeah.
and it just is just
Yeah.
fantastic.
And it is easy to tell a middle schooler that's out of line. You know what I mean?
Sure. And then they feel, right. That's one of the things we're teaching them.
Yeah.
And then my last thing, I had a dear friend in town, and last thing is the quote unquote, like we were never apart kinds of friendships.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't see each other for 6 months, for 3 years, and then the minute you see each other, you're off and running.
And you pick up where you left off.
I never want to take that for granted. It is so special, and I really just have, like a small group of friends like that, and it's been glorious to have some time in person.
Yeah, that's so great. It's like just having that little touch point every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
All right, get your thumbs up.
All right, my first thumbs up is my husband and I, we love Top Chef. We love watching Top Chef. Love it. And there's a new season right now, and it's the Top Chef. It's like the all-world all-star. So it's people from all different countries that have either won or were finalists on Top Chef, and it's in London right now. So we didn't know because we had been traveling, and then one of our sons was like, are you watching the new Top Chef? And we're like, what? So we're all caught up now. We just watched episode 3, 4. Anyway, love Top Chef. Okay, the other thing is Cindy C's Instagram feed on Instagram, and her handle is Cindy C Stitches. I think I stumbled upon, I don't know how I found her, but it's again one of those people. I just want to see if I can show her feed. Everything she does, I love. Okay, so here she is, Cindy C Stitches. So if you don't know her, go check her out. I just
take a close look.
I know. So she's the one here that did, one of the things that caught my eye is she knew she wasn't going to finish a sampler. So she took just the corner that she'd stitched and finished it as a pillow. It looks so great. So go check her out. I love looking through people's feeds. Like sometimes when you come across somebody new, do you find just like scrolling through their feed and you're just like, oh, I like that, I like that, I like that. So I felt that way about Cindy C. Beautiful.
I feel like we get to know her a little bit.
All right, the last thing was I was in New York visiting my son, and I walk into the house and I take off my mitten, and my wedding ring was missing the little diamond that's on the top. And you're like, well, that was fun while it lasted, kind of thing. Like what can you do? Like,
right.
So I'm like, I've always really liked this ring. I like wearing it. I like, of course, it's your wedding ring. But then I looked down at their entryway, and the little diamond was on the ground. So it must have been, whether it fell off or it must have been in my mitten with the ring. Because sometimes like you look at this and you're like, I don't know where I lost the diamond, right? It could be anywhere.
Right.
But it was sitting right there in their entryway.
It's amazing. Wouldn't it have been funny if the toddler had picked it up?
Well, at first I'm like, oh my gosh, what if because the 10-month-old,
that's true. That wouldn't have been funny.
One of them could have eaten this like really easily, and I think a diamond. Anyway, so I'm so happy. And this ring, we had new rings made on our 10th anniversary, and it was just made by a guy here in the town I live, Palo Alto. So I'm just going to take my ring back and the diamond back to him, and he can probably fix whether I just nicked how it was set, because it's just kind of inset in the ring. So you're probably your first like, how's that a thumbs up? Well, it's a thumbs up because I found the little tiny, it's just like a little tiny diamond too from, back in the day when, little tiny engagement ring. But I love it. Okay, of course. Thank you if you're still here with us. I know we knew it was going to be a lot because, we haven't really come together, and it's amazing in 6 weeks how much you can have.
So we might have started talking faster and faster.
I know, when you start realizing. It's like the teacher in you when you're like,
end of the lesson. Oh, one more thing.
The lesson plan is not going to time. So,
all right.
So
until next time, happy crafting.
And stay curious. Bye, everybody.
Bye.